Well, good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending upon where you are in the world, and welcome to today's DevOps.com webinar. I'm Charlene O'Hanlon, moderator for today's event, and I welcome you. As always, we have a great event on tap, but before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items we need to go over. First of all, today's event is being recorded, so if you miss any or all of the event, you will have the opportunity to access it later on. Following today's webcast, we will be sending out an email that contains a link to access the webinar on demand. And we are taking questions from the audience. So if at any time during today's presentation you have a question for our speaker, please don't wait, don't hesitate, just use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit your questions. And we'll try to get to as many as we can near the end of today's webinar. Also, at the end of today's webinar, we will be doing a drawing for 4 $25 Amazon gift cards, so please stick around. Hopefully you'll be one of our 4 lucky winners. We also have 2 polling questions during today's presentation, so hopefully we can get everybody engaged with those as well. All right, with that, let's go ahead and kick off today's webinar, which is Modern vSphere Monitoring and Dashboards using InfluxDB, Telegraf and Grafana. Our speaker today is Jorge de la Cruz, who is systems engineer at Veeam. Jorge, thank you so much for joining me today. Really excited about this webinar. I know you've got a great event, you've got a great presentation on tap, so I'm going to put myself on mute and let you get right to it.
Okay, guys, so thank you for joining the webinar today. We are going to discuss around modern vSphere monitoring and dashboarding using InfluxDB, Telegraf, and Grafana. Slide, what we will learn today. So we're going to learn 101, discuss around vSphere monitoring, then a quick overview of the Telegraf and Grafana, and then I'm going to touch quickly around and from the community field for yes, a quick introduction of myself. My name is de la Cruz. I'm the expert in InfluxAce as well. The community program that looks data around around all using InfluxDB, Telegraf, Graph, and so on, and the vExpert is another community program from VMware. If you keep helping in the blogging, replying into the you can just be part of this program. Can you hear me okay? Well, I've been blogging on jorgedelacruz.es and jorgedelacruz.uk for a few years already. You can see since September 2011, and then I just achieved the 1,000 articles published, and it's a lot of visit into the blog. Husband and father. Let's go to the next slide. The problems that I've solved by choosing time series. I just wanted to kind of share 6 main problems that I've chosen by choosing time series versus any other kind of database or any other monitoring product. So first of all, time series, the first problem I solved was really to use a purpose-built database. We store all of this data, like it would be thousands and thousands of metrics, millions of metrics. You just want to keep for a long time, right? So I just wanted a product which was purpose built. Then second problem I solved, timing at the end by using other complex products which are really difficult to use, really difficult to implement. That's a problem I solved by time series and open source kind of monitoring. It's much easier and I save a lot of time because it's already everything up ready just for you to start working on. So the third problem, it's around the tech, right? It's around time, it's about complexity. So one thing that InfluxDB and Telegraf has versus their source monitoring solutions or any other, even like paid or closed source solution, that it's really well documented. You can find all the documentation on the website. You can find everything on GitHub as well, and it has really extensive documentation, so you can start with everything up and running within minutes. That's a problem I solved. as well. The fourth problem I solved is really growing. I started with one Raspberry Pi, and see how humble you can even start. And from that Raspberry Pi, move everything into virtual machine, and I just keep adding resources and so on. But flexible, you can add more resources into the InfluxDB, or you can even add like an HA as well, or you can move if you want the Influx Cloud. So you don't need to worry around it anymore. So the fifth problem I solved was around visibility of my monitoring of this firmware. So that's a problem solved. I had that real granular monitoring before, or if I had it, I need real. So that's the problem solved. And well, the last problem, not the problem itself, just myself. I really like and I the open source projects. Projects I can take a look into the code, projects where I can add my own expertise, or projects where I can leverage my teams or my other people in the community to the product a bit better, tailor it to our so these are the six problems that I'm using time series in InfluxDB. Can you keep it cutting or?
It is still clipping a little bit. If there's a way, maybe we can switch over to your computer audio and see if maybe that sounds a little bit better. Let's give that a try.
If I switch the computer out, I will not hear you properly.
Okay.
That's what is happening.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
With the computer.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Is it very bad with the computer?
It is the way that it is now. It's clipping. We can understand what you're saying, but it's difficult to hear sometimes.
Okay.
So
just give me just 1 second. Change the
sure.
report.
Okay, we'll see if we can make it better. Okay, while Jorge is working on his audio, just a quick reminder that today's event is being recorded once again. So hopefully we'll have a better audio on an on-demand version. But you know, as I said before, the webinar is going to be available on demand as well. So,
yes. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes. That sounds great. Okay, we'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
We'll move forward then. Okay, thank you, Jorge.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, no problems. So this is around the monitoring 101, and I just wanted to quickly pause here and start like a quick polling question for you guys. So if we can do that.
Sorry about that. We are pushing out the first polling question right now. It should be showing up on your screen now. The polling question is, how confident do you feel regarding time series monitoring? You can choose from doing my first steps with it, have heard about it and know some theory, started using it already, my name is series, time series. I like that one. That's great, Jorge. All right, everybody, go ahead and make your selection. We'll give you a couple seconds, about 15, 20 seconds more to go ahead and make your selection. Then we'll close out the poll and take a look at the results there. And again, wanted to remind the audience that if you do have a question for Jorge, now that we seem to be on a good track technologically, go ahead and use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit your question. And we'll try to get to as many as we can near the question and answer period. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out this polling question in 3, 2, 1. And now let's take a look at the results. How confident do you feel regarding time series monitoring? Looks like the majority of folks have said have heard about it and know some theory. So I'm hoping that'll help shape your conversation today.
Yes, it does a lot. So yeah, thanks so much, guys, for that. Okay, so as I'm saying here, are we back to the sharing screen? Yes, we are. Yeah, because it's closed.
Yes.
Okay, so there is two different persons, the ones who have monitoring and are proactive. Hopefully those will be you as well after today's webinar, and we can find these guys as well. Like they are surrounded by fire. The data center, it's there. A lot of things are failing. Windows, Linux systems are failing. But they just said, well, this is fine. So please don't be the guy surrounded by the fire, and be more proactive. So the webinar today is really to help you understand what can you do to do not be surrounded by this, but all of this. So what is time series? It's good to see that it's already, you have heard about it and you know some theory, so this is great. I'm just going to walk through these slides then quickly. So the difference between the classic relational databases, where you just have the names, age, nicknames, is employee or not, yes. Those are great for other sort of storing data, but if you want like a time series database, it's purpose built. So you know that, for example, this sensor temperature, it was 39.5, and in this specific timestamp, and that's everything you want to know. You want to know the sensor temperature, maybe other tags on a specific time stamp. This is perfectly, this is for you. The time series databases, those are for you, not classic relational databases. That would be really slow when you want to kind of query millions again of metrics. So yes, it is much easier. I let there like a small link as well. Probably you cannot click, of course, right now on it, but we are going to send the slides after, so you can just take a quick look into that. So what is time series now? The ingest rate, PostgreSQL versus time scale. You can see that the time scale, even if you keep growing in dataset size, it remains really stable in terms of rows per second, while like a traditional PostgreSQL, for example, it really starts going really slow as the dataset becomes bigger and bigger. We're talking about millions of rows. So once again, all of this is very technical, and it's just a quick example to show you the difference of time scale or time series database versus PostgreSQL. Once again, I'll let you there the link for this article. So moving forward, let's talk about one of, maybe you have heard about this. I'm pretty sure you have. So it's the Snmp, Simple Network Management Protocol. It's really ancient technology, as old as the internet probably, and is still relevant. So one thing that I don't understand is who call it, this protocol simple, because it is really difficult. And you hear some noise, it's on the street. Sorry guys, it's like the 5th of November here in the UK, and all you have seen probably V of Vendetta. Yeah, it's people throwing fireworks outside. So the SNMP, it's a bit complex. It's really old, so you can find a lot of documentation and a lot of old plugins around SNMP. So important things to bear in mind in the case you still need to use SNP, in this case for VMware or for anything else. Please use version 3 of the protocol, not version 1, which is really insecure. Version 3. Obtain the most up-to-date MIF from the different vendors and try to avoid the public SNMP community. So this is just really kind of best practices, really simple. So moving forward around VMware and SNMP, for example. So this is a configuration about how to get information out of VMware vCenter, and this is a real life example. So it's SNMP get, and then this is how you will configure it on here at the bottom. That is to configure it with version 1, and probably if you go to the internet and say, okay, I just want to monitor over SNMP my VMware environment, so you found these kind of 4-line commands, please don't run them. For that reason, it's there, like the forbidden signal there. Don't use them because that's SNMP version 1 and it's really unsecure. So if you want to get the best practices of how to run SNMP version 3 with VMware, please kind of take your mobile now and point into the QR code so you will see the step-by-step. But once again, I just wanted to show you first everything, how complex is SNMP, and then we will transition into something much more modern with Influx. So This is for ESXi. You know, ESXi is the hypervisor where the VMs are running. Once again, if you go really happy, go to Google and say ESXi Snp configuration, then you are going to find these commands where you will do copy paste. Once again, don't do them because this is for version 1 and they are really unsecure. So once again, best practice is just take a look into the QR code. So moving forward, quite simple, a MIP dissection. So once again, I'm just focusing right now on the complexity of what is Snmp, which it should be simple because that's what the abbreviation is, but it is not. So if we take a look into the MIP, MIP is the management information base. Every vendor or most vendors, they try to give these MIPs, these Bibles of with all of this information. It's really pointing to some specific resources. So if you find if you take a look into the MIPs, you will see like root.1.3.6.1.2.1, and then finally, I don't know, whatever that can be, CPU, RAM, or something like that. Then you will have different numbers. All of these MIP, it's really complex, if you ask me. Even if the vendors kindly give us the MIPs to ourselves, it's difficult to find out around the what is what really. So let me see on here right now. This is the MIP dissection specifically for VMware. So we can see that here the 1.3.6.1.4.1, and then the vendor ID, which is 6876, and they keep adding more and more after that. So for example, for the notification is the 0, and after the 0, you will probably have a lot of other things that you can query using the MIPs, system, virtual machines, resources, LTAP, traps, and so on. As you can see all of this, and probably you are already wondering, this is really, really, really complex and not really intuitive at all. So this is an Snmp walk example. So once again, you can just take a look into the Snmp walk pointing to the vCenter or the SXI, and it just gives you, if you have SNP enabled, then it gives you a lot of information, which you just take a look and it's kind of like looking, I don't know, like Matrix, you know, it's looking code and it's like, what is what? This is really difficult. You cannot probably do much with this and sending anything to kind of sort of Grafana or any other dashboard. This is complex at the end of the day. So with that, we want to give you another polling question, number 2, and this is the last one. So guys, please focus on this polling question and we will move from here into the slides. So.
All right, let's go ahead and launch the second polling question, which is, what sort of virtualization are you running today? I'm using mostly bare metal. I'm using VMware's vSphere. I'm using KVM, Proxmox, Overt, or other open source solution, or we transitioned, everything is Kubernetes and containers. It'll be interesting to see how many people actually choose that fourth option there. Okay, just a quick reminder, folks, we are going to be doing a question and answer period after the presentation. So if you have a question for Jorge at any time, go ahead and use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit your question. Okay, we are going to be closing out the polling question here in about 5 seconds. So go ahead and if you haven't yet voted, go ahead and do that. We're going to be closing it out now in 3, 2, 1. All right, let's take a look at the results here. If I can get back to that, let's see, where did it go? There we go. Okay, here are the results. Sorry about that, guys. What sort of virtualization are you running today? The majority of folks are using VMware vSphere. Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, probably the question, I mean, the webinar itself is around vSphere, but it's good. It's good to see that a lot of people are using vSphere.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hide these. Let you get back to it.
Perfect, thank you. So this is good news then. Finally, now let's take a look into what we can do. So vSphere monitoring, you can see there the rocket is just going up, have deep visibility of what is going on inside the vCenters, is priority 1, IT administrators and CPU consumption and so on. So let me show you how this is done. So critical resource to be monitored, let me put all of them on here. Probably you as a vSphere admin, or if you're working as a part of the team that is managing the vSphere environment itself, probably you want to get the CPU usage of the cluster, the host, the VMs in percentage, and probably in megahertz as well. I'm pretty sure you want to get some RAM usage as well of the cluster, host, and VMs in gigabytes, most likely. And data stores, I'm pretty sure you are really interested to know how much data store are consuming every kind of VM, and as well probably the VMFS reads and writes, and IOPS and total latency. And I'm pretty sure as well that you would like to get a per VM stats. So you can just filter per VM and then focus on a specific VM on a specific time range, so you can see how much CPU, disk, and everything consume outside of the vCenter itself. So that's what we're going to see today. So what are we going to use to get all of this information out? We're going to use InfluxDB, Telegraf, and Grafana. So InfluxDB is the open source time series database where we are going to save all the metrics. Telegraf is the plugin reverse server agent to collecting all the data, and Grafana it is the open source and widely adopted dashboarding system, which is going to show us everything in a really beautiful way. So I think I have here like a really simple diagram of how all of this is done. So one good thing about Telegraf, if you ask me, this agent, which you can install all in one, to be honest. That's what I'm doing. I have the Grafana server plus the InfluxDB plus the Telegraf all in one big VM. You can always slice the services in different VMs. You can slice the services in Kubernetes containers as well. So Grafana have the Grafana in a container, have the Telegraf into another, and InfluxDB into another. That's absolutely fine. And the thing that I like around Telegraf is that it has so many plugins already embedded itself. So you just need to edit the config file of the Telegraf. And I don't know, they are more than hundreds. I'm pretty sure probably close to the 200, I think, at the moment. They are so many plugins. One of them is the vSphere plugin that is already there. So that's one thing that I love around Telegraf. The config is there. You just uncomment the whatever you need, the plugin you want to use. Introduce some very basic stuff. For example, for the vCenter, we will see later on, but it's just IP or FQDN, username and password, and that's it. And then everything starts working. It happens the same for CPU of Linux systems or Windows systems, RAM, load, net, Nginx, MariaDB. It has a lot of things to monitor out of the box. I absolutely love that. So this is the workflow. Just from the vCenter, we are going to take everything using the SDK. So that means 443, HTTPS 443. We take all of that data out from Telegraf. From Telegraf, we save it into InfluxDB, which of course we can just keep there as many months as we need or years. And then we are going to finally visualize it through Grafana. So simple diagram. How do you start monitoring all your environment today? You have two ways of doing it. So first way of doing this is by downloading Telegraf, either into a container or either into one of these Linux VMs with all in one, or even on a Raspberry Pi. You can just put the Telegraf on a Raspberry Pi. That's perfectly fine, as long as it can see the vCenter. That's everything you need. And then edit the telegraph.conf, or just take the vSphere part and create another conf, and just enabling the inputs.vSphere. I'll show you the exact configuration in a second. Or you have another way of doing these things. The other way is if you download this OVA from VMware. So you go into Google and say VMware vSAN Performance Monitor, and VMware, what it has done is it has just create an OVA, which is a virtual image, which you download, next, deploy it onto your vCenter, and that's it. And this OVA, it has Telegraf plus InfluxDB plus Grafana, so it works out of the box. I think you need to edit the IP and edit the telegraph.com, but at the end, you do not need to install anything. Everything is already in a really good OVA just for you. So you open it and then you just you just enjoy. And the other thing you need to do is download the Grafana dashboards that I've created during all of these years with a lot of community feedback from a lot of kind of customers feedback as well, telling me like, oh, okay, Jorge, what about if you show this or that, or maybe this instead of showing gigahertz or megahertz, you can show the percentage and so on. So that's the two ways you can start running all of this in your environment, and both are free. So again, don't be that guy, surrounded by fire, because all of this is free. You can start monitoring your VMware environment today for free, having really great visibility. So let me move to the next slide. How to enable it in the case that either you download the OVA or you just download Telegraf and you don't know where to go. Just go to the telegraf.conf and you need to edit these things, these three things only. So the vCenter, you just point to the HTTPS and your vCenter FQDN or IP. You need to introduce a username and password which can see all of the resources, so at the top of the level of the vCenter, with read only across all the child and everything. So it needs to be at the top of the vCenter, reading everything, and that's it. So no writing, not anything, just a read only. And we have two ways of taking data out. So for the VMs and hosts, then we can get kind of every 60 seconds. We can go even down every 20 seconds if we want as well. And then we have another metrics which are for clusters, which are for Datastore, which are, I think, clusters, data stores, and data centers. And that's every 5 minutes. And this is because, VMware works that way. So it cannot give you those metrics from these guys. You cannot get them much faster. So it's much better just to follow what VMware recommends. So I think I have here, why do we have kind of two ways of retrieving data? One is the real time for the VMs and hosts, and the other one is more historical, which is every 5 minutes. So I'll show you why do I mean with all of this. And this goes a bit deep into VMware, but I will cover this in maybe 1 minute or two. So the vCenter saves the metrics every 20 seconds. That means that if you go to your vCenter today and take a look into the real-time statistics, you will probably see that if you move your mouse, you will see the gaps between every 20 seconds. So you cannot see what it happened every, 10 seconds ago. It just moves between every 20 seconds. And that's what vCenter can give Telegraf, or what is exposing through the SDK, and that's what we can take out as well. So every 20 seconds, and all of that is saved in RAM. So it's a bit heavy, but that's already in RAM. So meaning we are not doing anything extra. We're just extracting that which is in RAM already and taking it out. So that is okay. And then for the Datastore cluster and that data center metrics, that is safe in ranges of every 5 minutes. So once again, if you go to your overview in the vCenter and you go into these metrics, Datastore cluster or data center, you will see that they are just every 5 minutes ranges. So Telegraf, it just takes them exactly like that. And for that reason, this is the two configurations, just to try to follow. I just put here 60 seconds because I don't want to be that aggressive every 20, but if you want to get exactly the same as you get with VMware, you can edit this interval to 20 seconds, and that's it. So I hope that was clear, and why we're extracting the data as we do, and it's just to follow the vCenter really best practices. So let me see on here, demo time. I mean, we're just already 35 minutes on the webinar, and apologies for the audio and everything problems at the beginning. So I'm not going to share to kind of put it in real Grafana just in case that something happens now again. So I'm just have really nice slides with the demo itself. So this is how you see. So once again, let's take a step back. we don't load the OVA or we don't load Telegraf, then we we configure it, and then we point into the vCenter. That's quite simple. And then you download for free these Grafana dashboards that are already in grafana.com. If you go to dashboard, search for VMware, you will see all of them. So this is the overview one. I think it has already 8,000 something downloads. So it is a lot of downloads if you think that this is for a data center product itself. So if this is in 8,000 data centers at the moment, I'm already really happy. Even if it was just in 10 or in 2, if it's helping somebody out there, I'm just happy that this is happening. So as long as you download this, then you import it on your Grafana and everything is already configured, this is what you get completely out of the box. So imagine all the possibilities that you have. So you are going to see your cluster on here with the uptime, the CPU usage, the RAM, and then it's going to tell you as well, you have one vCenter or 2 or 10, then you have one cluster or more, the ESXi summaries, the VM summary, and the Datastore summary. Then what else can we see? CPU kind of resources consumption, so in usage, in RAM, network, and storage adapter. And of course, all of this that you can see right now here is just the time frame that you selected on here. So if we think about the first slide, why do we choose time series? Because of course, when you go into Grafana, you want to change here and then, okay, show me every sort of metric for the last 30 days or from an interval of this day into this day. So time series, InfluxDB is going to give you this with a massive speed. So you will click, change this, and this kind of refresh immediately. That's the good news around all of this. What else are you going to see? The Datastore's usage capacity on this kind of fancy LED sort of doing it. Reminds me a bit of kind of the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I think the panel, you know, when they introduce the data and everything reminds me of that, and it makes me happy. Then you are going to see the Datastore status in sort of the similar way, but just with these speedometers. You can always, that's another beauty. All of this is open source. You don't like something that you see here, you don't like the purple color, that's okay, just change that. You don't like the red color, change that as well. You don't like to see this Datastore status because it's kind of redundant with this more fancy LED panel. You just go here, minimize this, and delete the whole panel itself. So everything is customizable, and you can just tailor it to your own needs. So this is the overview. If you scroll on the overview panel, then you will see the hypervisor status. So you are going to see a bit more granular information for your ESXi on here. Then the memory, then the net usage, and the vCenter quickly in just one diagram. Just see everything, the CPU plus RAM consumption. So this is probably a really good one just to see, even if it's just small. Then I just put all the VMs together into this virtual machine status because remember, this is a quick overview panel. So as a part of this overview panel, then you will see the CPU usage in percentage, the memory usage average, the CPU ready in milliseconds per VM, network usage, and so on. So this panel, it's really, really helpful. And it helps me a lot because when I see something, I have it here close to me on one of my monitors, which I have in kind of in vertical, so I can see like the whole panel. And when I see kind of a peak on here on the CPU ready or a color, because every line is one different VM, if I see a peak there, quickly I just log in on my computer and I take a look and then, which VM is now doing CPU ready or is using more memory than per usual. So you see a peak, you just point your mouse and it's going to tell you, okay, for example, this VMPD of version 3.0 is having 277 milliseconds. So that's probably a lot, if you ask me. What else? Then remember that I told you that you can see even the view per host. So this is another Grafana dashboard that you import, and then you are going to get a detailed overview of the consumption in this case just per ESXi. You can filter all of that on the top. You cannot see it on this screenshot, but you can filter all of that on the top. So it's really simple just to, okay, just show me these two ESXi, so just show me this ESXi or 10, and the panel refreshes and it shows you whatever it's important for you. And remember on the time that is relevant as well for you. So that's another nice view. Now this it doesn't. It's not using the the vCenter, the vSphere plugin. This is using the IPMI plugin, Telegraf, and once again, this works with everything: HP, Dell with the drag, Supermicro. The Supermicro is called IPMI, with everything. So the good news is that you just enable that, and that's it. You can download this dashboard as well if you want to get to know the kind of temperatures on your from your servers. Again, I know I'm in Europe, so this is Celsius. But the beauty of this is that you can just go on here and change the temperature from this into the into Fahrenheit, and that's no problem at all. Same for this. If you don't like just to see fan 3 and this number, and you want to add the RPM on here in small, you can add that as well. Probably it's a nice touch to add the kind of suffix on here as an RPM. But yeah, well, you have the chance to edit all of this. So what else? Then we have finally the view per VM, and this is going to be probably the one that you are going to look if something goes wrong with the VM. So you're just going to just select the VM that is I don't know, doing something strange, and then select on the time time frame that you know it was doing something strange, and you will get all of this really nice, and you can just maybe take a screenshot and say, yeah, look guys, to the owner of this VM, look guys, it has a CPU peak from 8 to 10, so maybe you're doing something, or maybe, I don't know, a virus or a ransomware. This is going to be really good to get the ransomware activity, because a ransomware is going to make a peak on CPU, is going to make a peak in RAM, and it's going to make a peak in disk latency, because it starts to encrypt a lot of files. So you get any of that massive peaks all together, then you know it's a ransomware for sure on one of the VMs. Just as an example. So finally is the Datastore, and the Datastore view, it's pretty much same as we have seen before, but in a big, massive, just kind of using the whole screen, and you can see per Datastore 2 big squares on here: total capacity, free capacity, and a donut with all of this. And if it's some French on here on the WebEx, do you know that in France they don't call these donuts or pie charts or anything? They call it camembert. That's really that is really crazy. I learned it like a few months ago, showing this into French audience, and they told me it's not called pie chart, it's called camembert. So yeah, it was just a small comment. And with that, learn from the community, build for the community. Quite quickly, you my my sort of path with all of this. Why did I build this using all open source and everything? All of this started like in 2016. I just did my first Grafana blog, so I was super newbie. So on the poll that we did ask at the beginning, I will answer the first one. So I don't know, just baby steps. I don't know, I installed it. I was really impressed, really happy with that. Then in 2017, I did my first vSphere monitoring dashboards, and it was using a PowerShell script from another fellow vExpert. So I took his PowerShell script, and from there I was just putting everything into Grafana. So it wasn't beauty, but at least it was good for me. Now I think that Telegraf, of course, received a lot of feedback that they wanted to get that enterprise plugin for VMware. And in September 2018, Telegraf released the native vSphere input. So I remember that it was Telegraf version 1.8. So it was really exciting for me. And then a couple of days later, because it was at the end of September, in early October, I kind of announce or release for free. This is not a product. It's just a couple of dashboards that I build on my free time. Then I just put all of these dashboards out there in the community. So it was free at the beginning, but then I started adding more and more, and of course making a lot of iterations. And then finally, let me see, in November 2020, that is today, it has more than 8,000 downloads of this Grafana dashboard, especially around the overview. It has been downloaded more than 8,000. Probably it's a bit more if you combine all the dashboards together around this solution. It might be, I don't know how it might be, but they might be a lot. And this is my path for the community. It's just, I don't know, taking knowledge, taking open source solutions, and yeah, and then giving back for free. So I think we are at the end of the slides, and quickly I just add this InfluxDays image on here, because next week it is the InfluxDays for North America, and it's going to be a lot of sessions there. You can of course register for free for the InfluxDays North America, and I'm going to present as well a session that day talking about how you can just leverage any RESTful API, so not just VMware, anything that is exposing a virtual API, a REST API, is just how to take all of that and saving it into InfluxDB, and from there, how to build Grafana dashboard. So on that session, I'm going to be kind of do all of those baby steps with the queries, with what is what. So if you have some time for next week, just please make sure you go to the InfluxDays North America, you register for free, and then you attend that session next week. But yeah, that was it for the InfluxDays North America. And with that, thank you so much. Now we are going to answer a couple of questions, or as many questions as you might have, guys.
All right, great. Thanks so much for, yeah, I can't believe you got through that entire presentation in record time. That's great, Jorge. Thank you very much. Yes, we do have about 10 minutes or so for questions. So if you do have a question, please go ahead and use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit it. We've gotten a couple in so far, so let's go ahead and dive right into what we have. Here's the first question for you, Jorge. How to achieve a perfect metric collection interval with Telegraf, Grafana, and InfluxDB? Do you have any best practices you can recommend?
Yes, that's a really nice question. I have a best practices to how to achieve that perfect recollection, and it's on my blog. So I think if you just search just exactly that, like how to recollect vSphere metrics, VMware, Telegraf, you are going to land into the into one of my blog posts. Yes, completely going step by step into how to do that. So please Google that and let me know if you can find it. But it should be easy. Just put that Telegraf perfect recollection VMware Jorge, and then you will find it in Google. So.
Excellent. Okay, great. Yes, Cornell, if you are having trouble finding that, just message us back or put another question in the questions tab, and we'll try to follow up with you on that one. Okay, next question regarding the dashboards. Are there meaningful dashboards for monitoring the versions? Things get really messy if you have multiple data centers with dozens or hundreds of ESX servers, especially if those are handled manually. Firmware versions are crucial.
That's a really, really nice question. For at the moment, the Telegraf input itself, the Telegraf plugin, it does not take the ESXi version. So it takes the host name and it takes the clusters and the centers, which probably can help a lot because you can filter at the top of the dashboard. But if you want to add the specific ESXi version, I will encourage you to enable Snmp. And then on the Telegraf itself, you just add that small Snmp OID that you want to get, which is just the ESXi version, and then you add that into one of my dashboards. I've done it by myself, but never published it because combining the new fancy perfect way of doing it and the Snmp, it was a bit tricky for me. But you can do it, and those are the steps. Yes, yeah. Feel free to ping me on Slack or on Twitter, and I can help you with that.
Okay. All right, great. Actually, a related question then. Somebody's asking for a link to your blog. Do you have the address to it?
Yes, the address is super simple. It's jorgedelacruz.es or .uk. Or if you put Jorge VMware Grafana on Google, you will find that the blog on there, and the Twitter. I'm always happy to be there with you. Or I'm on the InfluxDB or Influx Data as well Slack channel, which is free to join, and I'm always there with Kaylin and with a lot of Influx people there, and InfluxAce and everything. More than happy to help you. So
excellent. All right, great. Plenty of time for questions, guys. If you do have a question for Jorge, go ahead and use your GoToWebinar control panel and submit it. Next question here: why did you select InfluxDB? Did you consider other time series databases?
Yeah, I do remember. I think at the beginning, I put it there, 2016 or something. I was doing my research at that point in time, looking where can I save a lot of metrics. So at that point, I didn't even knew how many metrics I will save, but I knew it would be a lot. So I was doing my research, and then I just found that Grafana, it has as a data source, it has InfluxDB. So then reading more about InfluxDB, I knew that was the perfect, the perfect combination. InfluxDB plus Grafana, it was the best, the best of both worlds for me. So that was just doing my research at that point.
Excellent. All right. Next question here. What is your opinion on monitoring as a code? Or monitoring as code?
I do not have any opinion because I'm not that I'm not that good into monitoring as a code. So is that probably using Prometheus maybe and using scripts? So I don't know if you can just get a bit more into the question or just kind of elaborate on the question. I might be able to help a bit more.
Okay, great. Yeah, Cornell, if you want to go ahead and maybe expand on your question, then we'll send it back to Jorge. But let's go ahead and move ahead, and then we'll maybe come back to that one. Let's see. Do you have any tips about how to create Grafana dashboards?
Yes, I have tips to create Grafana dashboard. So first of all is use your imagination as much as possible. Second, it's take a look into go to the Grafana dashboards kind of website and then look for any other thing that it might inspire you. The other thing is like Google. Now Google is Google Images is a perfect place because you can just put Grafana dashboard examples and it gives you kind of one example and then you find it like, oh, I like this. And then you click on the image and now Google gives you recommended images or similar images. And then you can just find more and more and more and more ideas. Maybe just take screenshots or save them for later on. And then, yeah, after you have kind of on your head what you're trying to achieve or what you like, just go there into the Grafana dashboard and then start kind of you know have the ingredients, just start baking your own cake the like you like.
All right, great. So that is all the questions that we have right now. Oh, actually, we just got one more. What kind of use cases can we use Grafana for?
You can use Grafana combined with Telegraf for pretty much monitoring everything that you can imagine. Using InfluxDB always kind of like the database to store all of this, but remember Telegraf, if you just go to Google and put Telegraf inputs, it has so many inputs. I mean, let me share a couple of use cases. So first of all, yeah, the VMware cluster, that's great, that's good, but it's enterprise and not maybe everyone might have it. But you might have some websites that you want to monitor the SSL certificate. I know it is something not that critical, but if that expires, it might lead into users not be able to access, or it might lead into any other sort of problem. So you can monitor that SSL certification expiration. You can just monitor as well if a website is up or down, and you can just even do it that by, okay, if I go to this website automatically, I don't know, mywebsite.com, and it's not just giving you the 200 success code. You can even say, is this website containing, this is my blog, jorgedelacruz.ts, because you know that kind of the title of your website. So you can just monitor uptime of your website, SSL certificates, IoT, of course, temperature of your servers, temperature of around your house. Now that we are in lockdown in pretty much the whole world, maybe start using all of these just for your day-to-day things, like I don't know, like the temperature around the house. Is it a door opening or not? It's a lot of use cases, really, enterprise and not enterprise, if you ask me. So I don't think I have even time to answer all of that in 1 hour or even 10.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Well, let's see. I think that's all the questions that we have, but it is time actually to close out the question and answer period. We're about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. So I do want to thank everybody for who did submit questions. There were some really great ones, so we do appreciate that. And I also want to remind the audience once again that today's is recorded. So if you missed any or all of it, or if you want to watch it again, we will have a version on demand for you. Probably in about an hour or so after the webinar, we will be sending out a link that contains a link to access the webinar on demand. Maybe not an hour, maybe a little bit longer, but you will be getting that email. The webinar is also going to be living on the devops.com website, so you can always go look for it there. Just go to devops.com/webinars, look in the on-demand section, and it should be right there waiting for you. Okay, also at the top of the hour, I did mention that we would be doing a drawing for 4 $25 Amazon gift cards. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, our first winner today is Bryson O. Congratulations, Bryson. Our second winner today is Judy K. Congratulations, Judy. Third winner today is Matt C. Congratulations, Matt. And our final winner today is Terrence L. Congratulations to all 4 of you. We'll be checking in with you offline by email to get your Amazon gift card over to you. So please check your inbox. If you don't see something in your inbox, please check your spam filter. Okay, Jorge, thank you so much for a great presentation. Despite the technical difficulties, we managed to pull it out, and I do appreciate your patience and as well as your expertise and the bonus of having a demo. I love the demos, and I had no idea we were going to do a demo, so that made me very happy. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I also want to thank the audience today for your patience as we did work through those technical difficulties. I know it can be frustrating sometimes. So we do thank you very much for being patient during that time, and also for sticking around for the webinar. And we hope to see you again on another webinar real soon. But for now, this is Charlene O'Hanlon, and I am signing off. Have a great day, everybody, and please stay safe.